Alright, today we're just going to go over a quick guide for the different types of shapes that we will see. I will link this worksheet in the description, so if you want the actual worksheet. But I'm just going to go over this pretty quickly. So we have different types of triangles. Let's just go over the triangles first. We have an equilateral triangle, which means that all of the sides are equal length. And actually, when all of the sides are equal length, the angles are also equal length, and they are all 60 degrees. Because 3 times 60 equals 180. And each triangle has all three angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. Okay, then we have an isosceles triangle, which means that two of the side lengths are the same. So these two, that's what these two lines mean. When the two lines go over multiple sides, that's what they mean. And these are congruent angles, which means they are the same. Okay, so they're not necessarily 60 like equilaterals. If they were 60, then it would be an equilateral triangle because the other side would have to be 60. But so these are just the same. They could be, 45. Well, for a right angle, they could be 30. If they were both 30, then the other angle would have to be 120. But, so that is an isosceles triangle. A scalene triangle is a triangle that has no sides or angles equal. So a right triangle has one right angle and then two acute angles. An acute triangle has all acute angles. And an equilateral has to always be an acute triangle because it is 3 there. Then we have an obtuse triangle, which is one obtuse angle, and then the other two have to be acute. So now we're at quadrilateral. Quadrilaterals, which just means four-sided shapes, right? Quad means four. So these are four-sided shapes. So a square has all sides equal, all angles are 90 degrees or right angles. So a rectangle is opposite sides equal, all angles are 90 degrees. So technically, a square is also a rectangle, but a rectangle is not necessarily a square. A rhombus is all sides equal, two pairs of parallel lines, and then opposite angles are equal. So a square would also be a rhombus as well, because it meets all of these criteria. But a rhombus can also just be like this, more of a diamond, where they are not 90-degree angles. Then we have a parallelogram, which is opposite sides equal, two pairs of parallel lines. So technically, a square is a rectangle, a rhombus, a parallelogram, because they're the opposite sides equal, and two pairs of parallel lines, right? So these kind of just, it's kind of interesting to look at what the criteria are for these and think about what shapes actually fall into them. There's a kite, which is adjacent sides equal and two congruent angles. So it's not so a rhombus or a rectangle is opposite sides equal. These are adjacent sides. Adjacent means next to each other, right? So that is a kite. A trapezoid is just a shape that a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides, and a trapezium, which seems to be rarely talked about, but it's a shape that has no pairs of parallel sides. And then we just have regular polygons. So these are just shapes that have the same length of sides. So we have an equilateral triangle, a square, a pentagon, and also the angles are the same, right? So not only the side lengths are the same, but the angles are the same. A pentagon, which has 5 sides, a hexagon, which is 6, an octagon, which is 8, and a decagon, which is 10. So that's kind of a brief overview of just shapes that you will see, and I will link this document in the description.